Welcome back to Jack Howard Color, the podcast. Today's guest is Shawna Russell. Shawna's a fantastic guest talking about her journey with over 30-something years in the industry. She's talking about the big reset and how she changed her career. Welcome back to this episode of Jack Howard Color, the podcast. I am really excited today. My Instagram friend and soon-to-be in-person friend at some point once travel restrictions change, Shawna Russell. Shawna, welcome to the podcast. I'm so thankful we could get this sorted and get you on here.
Thank you so much, Jack. It's been something. I've known you on Instagram for so long, and we started talking recently, but I've always looked up to you and your work and being with Schwarzkopf, loving the Schwarzkopf product. So this is like a dream come true for me to be able to chat with you today.
Oh, thank you so much. But listen, this is really about you and about your vision and your journey. And I really want to kind of get to know a little bit more about you. I know that you're I'm just reading from my notes here, the Schwarzkopf Canadian ambassador and influencer.
Yeah.
For whatever influencer means. It's a strange word, isn't it? You own your own salon, you're a business partner, you're an apprentice program mentor, which I think is really interesting one, really cool to talk about. A BTC member, of course, and behind the chair. And also you're a blonde specialist, but you're a color makeover specialist as well. I mean, you do some massive jobs on Instagram. They're huge.
I do. Color corrective has kind of become my thing because so many blondes are coming to me and, previously to being in my chair, they just have all these issues with their hair. They're not getting the blonde that they want. There's breakage that has ensued. And so they come to my chair. I have to deal with, the breakage. I have to deal with orange and yellow, try to get them evened out and try to get them to the blonde of their dreams. So lots of corrective work.
Lots and lots of work in that and lots of thought processes to get to that point too. But when did it all start for you?
It goes back to 1988 is when I graduated high school.
Yeah.
And I actually took my course in high school. So at that time, I could take my full diploma program for grade 12. And then also I could do the hair program. So in grade 10, I literally just took it just because I thought, hey, this sounds cool. This will be fun to do. It'll be easy credits. So I took the grade 10 program. And then my teacher, I'll never forget her. Her name is Mrs. Jolly. And she was literally my inspiration. She pushed me more into this career. I never thought of it as a career, but she pushed me into this and she saw something in me. And so she wanted to work with me because back in those days, it was roller sets, perm rods. I would say that's what we did most of. And I could not get the perm rod thing. So she wanted to work with me, on all my afternoons. So I would come in on my afternoons. And by grade 11, 12, I was already taking clients in the school. And I already had a clientele in the program. So I ended up graduating the top of my class and and I just went into this career that I wasn't even thinking that I was going to do, but I seemed to fit right in. So that's where it started back in high school.
I think I think it's brilliant. And a lot of our guests have come on and said, especially sort of North American, Canadian, have talked about how at high school they could look at trades and get qualifications and things like that. Because not everyone's destined to work behind in an office, thank goodness. I mean, it's not for me. But there are the opportunities to learn those skills, start going with those skill sets are earlier for some people. And I think it's really neat, and we should be celebrating more of that. That's sort of career options for young people.
Yeah, I think my whole package cost me maybe $200 for my parents to pay. And I got a whole career out of it. It's crazy, right? Crazy.
It is crazy, but it's fabulous to hear how people start. I started hairdressing because I was a Saturday boy, at 12, 13, 14. And when I got kicked out of school, I really it was either work in a shop go and work in an office, or go and be an assistant in a hairdresser's. And that's what I chose, not knowing that where it would lead me.
Yeah.
And it's sort of the career is amazing for us when we look back at it. And there's still so much more to do, which is what's so cool.
It is so cool. Like, I almost feel like we had a reset probably 10, 15 years ago. And that it was almost like the beginning of another career with being social media, influencer, all the different things that are going on in our chair. And now I feel like we're almost like just getting started. Like,
yes,
even,
it does feel like
even
that
at, even at our age, like, I just feel like this is something totally brand new from where we started. Yeah,
I agree. I've not really thought about it that way, but I suppose that I left the US the first time 11, 12 years ago. And so that was a reset. And that's really when Instagram started becoming a thing. So that was definitely a reset. So yeah, you're right. I hadn't looked at it like that. Well thought.
Right? So I think I owe everything to this teacher, Mrs. Jolly. I owe, she was my inspiration back then, and she pushed me into it, and then it was just, I worked in a different province for about 15 years, I think it was. And I had a really good clientele. And then my husband and I, he wanted to move to a different province, Vancouver, BC, where I live right now. And so we literally moved here with no jobs, no place to live, like nothing. We sold our house and moved here, and I had to start with a brand new building up a clientele from scratch. So that was about 15, 16 years ago. We lived in a motel for 1 week till we could find a place to rent. It was like, crazy times. Then we had our daughter. And then I took 6 months off, and then I was so scared to start again, building my clientele. But I just had to do it. So I had to go pound the pavement and hand out resumes and start from scratch, just like I did when I was an apprentice.
It's a humbling experience to do that, isn't it? To walk in and be an unknown somewhere and know that you can do it, but that nobody acknowledges that around you, and to literally start all over again. It certainly changed how I looked at people, I think, and how I looked at myself as well.
For sure.
But let's go back to baby Shawna, right? So you finished high school, you've got your qualification. What did you do? Did you go into a salon?
So I had this lady where I did my work experience at. She had a hair salon called Red Snippers. And she was trained as a barber. So I started there. And in Alberta, you have to do your apprenticeship with the government. So that took about a year. And then I also had to do a journeyman apprenticeship, which took, I think, another year. And then you have to do your testing with the government after each of these things. So I actually have a journeyman ticket.
Now, let's talk about that, because, of course, qualifications are different everywhere you go, aren't they? So in the UK, we have our MVQ system, our city and guilds that you can go through, but you don't legally have to do any of it. And in America, they do their hours, and then they're in their state that they can work. But in Canada, you have to go to college that you did at high school. Then you have to do an apprenticeship for a year. Actually,
it's province by province. So where I live right now, you do not have to be licensed with the government at all. You could literally go into a salon, someone train you under their wing, and become a hairstylist. You don't have to be licensed at all.
Right.
But in where I'm from, Alberta, grew up, you had to be totally licensed with the government. So it took me about 2 years.
And what's the journeyman thing? What's that?
It's just like where you have to do a certain amount of hours after your schooling, and then you have to go to the government, and I had to do a practical and a written exam. And then you actually just get like a journeyman license card. Okay. And then I decided I wanted to get my red seal, which means if I travel interprovincial, I don't have to redo any testing or anything. I can just, right?
Cool. So that just allows you to work in any area within the...
Yeah.
That's very interesting, isn't it? So, do you think that we should make it easier for people to become hairdressers, or should we have more of a kind of license that sort of fits across countries and an industry standard?
I do believe in licensing. I feel like if you have a natural born talent, then for sure you could probably just be taken under someone's wing and be an amazing hairstylist. But I believe in the licensing, getting the foundations. Like I personally will not take anyone, even after they've done the full hair program and graduated from that school. I will not take them and let them go on the floor. That's why we created the apprenticeship mentoring program. So they have to do that at least 8 months to a year with me before I'll even let them be on the floor. So I do believe in licensing, and I wish it was countrywide, or, you know what I mean, all across North America be kind of the same.
Yeah, a set standard. Yes, I think you're right. If they're inherently talented, that they'll do fine anyway. But we do need, I think, a professional body needs a professional standard that everyone works towards, I think. Yeah. I
think more regulating, that's for sure. Like even with COVID, I have found, because there's no regulation here for anything, it's just really hard to know, like, what are the set regulations for our industry?
Yes. Yeah. Who's speaking to the government for us? Exactly. I think that was one that we found in the UK. We didn't have one solid voice to speak for the whole industry. There was, independents got a voice from someone, and salons got a group from someone. Yeah, it was crazy, absolutely crazy. Anyway, so Shawna goes into a salon, and she's done her journeyman, so she's on the floor basically. What were your hopes and dreams then, as you look back on yourself?
Honestly, I think I was just trying to survive because I was trying to survive. So I think you have to fake it till you make it. And I feel like that's a huge difference between the generation now that I see coming in. I'm not saying they're not amazing. I see some really amazing talent with the girls, but there's so many people like, I don't want to do men's cuts. I don't want to do short hair women's cuts. I don't do perms. I don't do this and I don't do this. So I think when I started, like I had to do everything. Like the owner, the government paid half my wage. And I started at minimum wage, which I think at that time was $6.75 Canadian. So she only had to pay me half. So $3 and something, right? So she pushed clients on me. Like I was busy, but in 2 years I built up a clientele, but I never said no to anything. Like I just, you got to put in the grind, and I never said no. I took anything that came my way, even things I was either nervous about, or I'm like, I don't want to do this, or this isn't something that I want to keep going as my specialty. I just did it all. And in 2 years,
I don't think we had specialties back then. Really,
no, we didn't.
You did have to do everything. You had to do men's haircuts, women's haircuts. You had to do perm. I mean,
you had to do everything.
Pincers and permers, we were called. You had to do everything. I mean, standby perms was the special at the place I trained at, where perms were booked in every 15 minutes, and you were winding.
Yes.
But I think that you can't specialize until you've. Personally, my personal opinion is I don't think you can specialize until you've run the whole gamut and seen what there is. Because quite often young people, and maybe older people too, if I think about it, it's natural for them to say, I don't like that, I don't want to do it. And maybe it's because they can't do it. And I think that it's important to be able to understand all of it and be able to do it, and then see and make the choice based on a different merit rather than fear.
I feel like there's like you have your younger generation that are all coming in now, that have come since social media probably started. You have our generation that started before any of this, quite a few years before, and we knew how to do everything, and we've adapted, and we've grown, and we've learned how to do what the young generation can do, and we still know how to do what we were doing in the past. Then I think you have the ones who kind of maybe get stuck in the older, right? And maybe it's just fear that's stopping them from going above and learning what the young kids can do. So I feel like you and I and our generation, I think we're a little special because we have that niche where we can do all the stuff from like everything, but we're keeping up with the new times and doing all the new techniques too.
Shawna, the rules of colour haven't changed in a generation. The rules of colour are exactly the same. It's how you apply it, right? So making clothes hasn't changed in many ways. You still sew them, but the cut of a trouser might be different, and the fit of a jacket. And it's the same with hair. And I think that people of our age group, and I mean, I am older than you, but people of my age group that haven't taken on, you know, the new looks, that have stayed safe, they don't bring any new clients in, and so you stagnate because you're just doing the same thing over and over again. I mean, you must all be swiping cans at the supermarket. And there's no personal growth in it. And I love to talk to hairdressers of our generation and to see how they've navigated this path into the 21st century.
Oh, for sure. I'm pretty proud of the fact that, and I think you and I are probably the same age. You think I'm probably not your age, but I think I am.
Okay. Well, we're near enough. We'll talk about that afterwards. We'll do in the outtakes.
But I feel like to keep the passion alive for 32 years is amazing in any job. So I think the only way I've done that is to learn all the new techniques, learn the new applications, and also learn how to do social media and work all this technical things and go on Zoom and podcasts and things like that. Like, you have to really keep up with the times, I think, to keep that passion alive.
I think you have to keep up with the times. I also think being around young people, which our industry is known for, is really helpful because they keep you on your toes.
I love it.
I mean, I love it. They bring an energy and a vitality and a thought process to the table that I don't have. And I bring something else to the table that they don't have. And together, you both learn from each other, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, they're like, it's just so awesome to see these young ones and like the passion they have, and they're so hungry. And I love that. That's why I love mentoring, because they're so hungry to learn. And then they take that and they apply that, and then they do so well themselves. I always say, like, I can't do this forever. At some point, I'm going to have to retire. So somebody else has to do. Yeah, somebody has to do what I can do, you know?
When do you think then, Shawna? So you said that 15 years ago there was a reset.
Yeah.
So I can kind of imagine that, very much like me, you were working behind the chair at that point. You're doing all the services, probably doing, you know, a client comes in and says, I want this, what do you think? Yes or no? And you sort of doing everything, and not necessarily a specialist in anything, but good at what you were doing, and you attracted the right people that you liked. And then you talk about this reset. So let's call it the big reset. Can you remember that moment when it dawned on you that it was going to have to change for you?
I remember the exact moment because my daughter, actually, who's 24 now, but she helped me back then when social media first started. I would just put up a personal page. And so I was mixing a little bit of hair with my personal. And then it was my daughter, who was going to college at the time. She was like, Mom, you have to make a personal or a professional page, and it has to be separate from your personal. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Nobody else was doing it in the area. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. So she set it up for me, and she's the one who came up with Hair by Shawna Russell, and which isn't like too original, but whatever. It was brand new, right? And then
it says what it does on the box, though, doesn't it? It says exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Hair by Shawna Russell. Yeah.
And so she set that page up for me. And I think that was the reset. That was like, okay, like, this is going to be a professional page. This is how I'm going to try to work on my brand and get my brand out there. So I think that was back in 2015.
And had you thought then, up until that point, had you become jaded or a little bit tired of what you were doing? And was this a way that you envisaged that you could somehow change what you were doing? Or wasn't it as clear as that? It wasn't as clear as that for me at that point.
I don't think it was clear for me at that point, but I knew that I wanted more than just doing clientele just in my little area. So people in your salon would know you were great at what you were doing, and you'd have this little bubble of clients that came just from the area. But I knew that I wanted to do more and have people from other places come to me and meet interesting people, like other hairstylists, because it was expensive to travel, to meet people and whatnot. So I kind of, when I started the professional page, I also reached out to a lot of people on Instagram and started relationships with them, like just Instagram relationships. And I feel like that's how I got my name known a little bit more.
Well, the fact of it is, so many people are terrified of all that, but it's called social media for a reason, right? Get social.
Get social.
And get social and chat and talk. And, you know, that's how you get to meet people that you would never normally meet, which is the cool thing about it. And what about, so part of the reset was that you set up your Instagram account. But had you already started change the kind of work that you wanted to do? Had that started changing at that point? Or was it a market that you created for yourself?
I would say at that point, I changed my market. That probably didn't honestly happen till about maybe 3-4 years ago, because I did create this niche for myself of blonding. And getting older, I just found the back-to-back foiling and highlighting, where it would take 2, 3, 4 hours to put something in, was killing my back. And I just had decided, because sometimes I would close my book so I wouldn't take new clients. But then I decided, okay, I'm going to start taking new clients. I want to change what I'm doing on my page, and I want to introduce more of dimensional blonding. So blonding, but with some natural left in, because I knew my body couldn't keep doing some of these big, huge jobs. So I've slowly shifted and just taking what I want, not just taking everything, but taking those clients that kind of fit this profile. And then you got to make sure that you are posting what you want to, because those are the people that are going to reach out to you.
That's a real gem though, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's clever, because a lot of people do close the books. And I always think closing your book is a mistake, because a few people disappear and move off or fail up, and then suddenly you can't fill that space. But to open your book and only take on the ones that you want, the direction that you want to go, and that's not being rude or anything. That's just sort of saying, okay, this is where I want to take my career, and utilizing the spaces that are in your column for your own career path, your own good. That's really clever, because I think a lot of people wouldn't think of doing that.
I feel like it's hairstylists. We are people pleasers. And yes, we're people pleasers and we want to make people happy, but we also have the right in our chair to be happy, right?
Amen to that one.
Right?
Absolutely.
We have the right to be happy, and not in the back room, like crying and upset because there's someone in our chair that we don't want in our chair. But I just decided, I've been working with a life coach in the last 6 months, and I've had so many realizations. And I feel like that's going to be the next reset almost. We're all doing so well with social media, behind our chairs, making money, kind of got the clientele that we want. Now we got to figure out how to balance that with personal and professional and our own life happiness.
Yes. I wonder if there is such a thing as that balance, though. That's the thing I struggle with, finding the balance, because I love work, right? And work, my career defines me, I think, more than anything else. I mean, I've got some personal goals I'm very proud of, but within my career, that's my happy spot.
Well, I did want to talk to you. I did want to talk to you about that, because I feel like, can we be really successful at your professional and really successful at your personal? I don't think we can. I think you can be slightly.
Slightly.
Because at one point something suffers.
I'm still with the same guy, we've been together for 18 years.
Me too.
So I mean, I think that's quite successful. Yeah. But career-wise, I'm very career-driven.
Yeah, I would say that I am too.
And I'm competitive.
Yeah, I am too. What I mean by maybe not as successful, because I've been married for 27 years.
Yeah.
So I find that a success for sure. But I mean, I put way more energy into my professional than I did into personal. So did I miss lots of stuff with my daughter? Probably. Did I stay at home when she was sick? No, my husband did. Certain things like that, I feel like a lot of my energy went into the professional, which is what makes me happy.
Yes.
But it's hard to get that balance.
I think it's really hard to get the balance. And I think I always am slightly bemused when young people talk about a work-life balance. And I'm just like, I don't know how you're going to get where you want to be without really sacrificing something along the way there. I mean, but then maybe I'm just an old man that's done it the old-fashioned way. I
think that's just our generation, how we were raised. Like, you just work really, really hard. And then to get what you want. But I do feel like a lot of the girls, I'd say in their 30s and younger in the salon, they're more about the work-life balance. So they are going to quit at 5 o'clock and go home. Whereas I'm going to stay till, 9, 10 o'clock p.m., but maybe they're smarter. I don't know.
Yeah, I stopped taking late night clients maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And I'm just like, I don't want to be here. I think I walked through the door one night and it was like 8:30, 9 o'clock. And, I always lived near work. I was always fortunate in London. And it was just like, it's too late to cook dinner and enjoy it. And then I have to go to bed because I've got to get up and go to the gym and I've got to do this and I've got to do that. And I was like, no, I don't want to do late night clients anymore. And, people that were trying to get in after work rather than come in on a Saturday. Well, it's actually, I want to enjoy my evening at home too. And so I didn't really have too much of a problem saying I don't want to do late nights anymore. That's for sure.
I changed that just last year. So when COVID started, the salon was shut down for 2 months. And then it was in that time that I was like, wow, like, this is nice being home in the evening and whatnot with my family. And so when I got back, we could only work 4 days a week. And I was working 5 days, usually 10 to 12-hour days. So we could only work 4 days to get everybody in the salon having full days with COVID, because we were only using every second station. So then I kind of I'm like, I like this 4-day thing. And I also realized I don't need to kill my body anymore. So I never had set times in my schedule. Like, I never blocked it off. I start at 10 and I end at 8. I just left it open. So then I would keep booking people. And then I would be so mad at myself for staying so late, right? So now I have these set schedule and I stick to it. And I've learned to say no. And my life coach has definitely helped me with that. I really think hairstylists should have a life coach. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I would say my last, in London, I was sort of saying my last colour client's 4 o'clock, right? Because that means that you would get out about 6:30, 7 o'clock still, if you were doing that, because they've got to be processed and blow dried and all of that. So it's like, you've got to take a bit more control of your column. I couldn't agree more. And I think COVID has shown many of us that there are different ways to work than what was our normal. And I'm definitely open to hearing those stories. But when you changed your column, you decided to open your column up and bring on a different, kind of the direction you wanted to go. What happened for you? How did you do that? How did you kind of get the women that you wanted in your chair, and how did you manage to change your Instagram feed to reflect all of that? Was that tough?
What I did is I actually put a model call out, and I got virgin hair in my chair, and I'm like, I'm going to do a dimensional balayage. I learned this new balayage on BTC University. It was called Brazilian balayage, and I use that still now. I absolutely love it. I've adapted it to my own way of doing it. But so I got a model, I did this dimensional balayage, and I took like 100 pictures, all different, straight, wavy, all different. And I just started posting that. And then I got another model, and I would just charge them part cost. So that's what I did, because if you're not posting what you want, you're not going to get that. So then people, right? So people are going to see that. And sometimes you have to take money out of your pocket to shift what you want, right?
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I'm with you on that. the models that I do on my feed, I'd never charged those women for that, but they were the women that I wanted to showcase what I did, but they gave me their time. I mean, they did pay for it. They could have done a booking. They were in magazines and all that stuff. So I think it's clever of us to think, not just think about short-term cash in pocket, cash in till, but think about longevity and how are you going to get that? And that's about making content, doing things for free. I hate the word free because I don't think it's right, but doing them at no cost to the models that you want, but you get so much out of it.
You get so much out of it. And I actually that's part of my apprenticeship program, is with these young girls. They have one model day, and it's part of our program. They can't say no, that they come in for free and work for free. And they're creating content for their Instagram. So I find by the time they're halfway through being on the apprenticeshiping with me, their Instagram is already being built up and they're already getting DMs for people who want to pay. Yeah, it's kind of a no-brainer. Like if you want to shift, or if you want to grow your Instagram, because that's our portfolio, to something that you want, you have to put yourself out there. You have to do some of these things for free. And then you got to start posting it. And then I also believe in this for someone who wants to do a price change. If you want to do a price change, don't have your books closed, because any new client you get in, you can say, well, these are my prices, and you can give yourself a raise that way. But if it's closed, then it's a little bit more uncomfortable to tell your previous clients, oh, I'm raising my prices to reflect our times.
So you do price changes for new clients, but old clients stay the same, or you just move everyone up?
I slowly have moved old clients up. But for any new, this is my prices, and of course I raised them. So that was when I did that reset of trying to change my clientele. I also raised my prices. I started working by the hour. Yeah.
And also, I suppose that also helped you move some of the clients out that you didn't really want to do anymore.
I have some of my old clients since I started here. I mean, I've only lived here for about 16 years now. So 15 years of client. Yeah, 15 years of client. So I do keep some of my old prices for people. But yeah, I just slowly raised, if it was like back-to-back baby lights, because we were going to talk about this, about how everything's changed in our industry so much.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that now?
I do. You take over the podcast. Thomas, forget it. Shawna's taken over. I do want to talk about how you see the change, because, and this is where I'm trying to go with the conversation, because you're very much part of the change, because you and I have been in the industry a long time, but you've managed, like myself, to navigate the changes and be successful in it. And what it looked like then to what it looks like now is very different.
And we've had to adjust our pricing because we're spending so much time behind, on one appointment or our application. So even for clients who they're shifting to the new looks, and now they used to be like a half head of highlights and a full head of highlights. Back in the day, I used to book, I could do a half head and cut an hour and a half. I think a full head was 2 to 2.5 hours with everything.
Yeah.
And now I'd say a half head of baby lights take me just an hour and a half to apply. So now that appointment's become 3.5 hours. A full head of baby lights, I actually book, it's 5 hours.
Wow.
So
it can be poke your eyes out time, can't it? Really, with the baby lights.
Yeah.
And the other day, I think you posted. I think it was you that posted about baby light or a fine slice, and it's like a fine slice wins, right? Because it looks the same if it is a fine slice.
I love it. I just started doing that, and I'm never going back to weaving. Like everything. Fine slices for everybody.
Fine slices around the hairline, and then weaves through everywhere. Yeah. Fine weaves through everything else. Yeah. What do you think? What do you think changed? Do you think the client requests changed, or do you think that technically we needed to just jump it up a level? Do you know what I mean? Because for so long it was classic highlights ruled the waves, right? And then like 2007, you got the financial crash, women like a rooted look. over 10 years later, we're still doing rooted hair. 15 years later, it's still got a rooted feel.
Well, definitely you're from the UK. So UK is always ahead of us. So you probably started doing the rooted look quite ahead of us. Because I feel like, I guess that started probably here 10, 15 years ago then. With the rooted looks, and ombre is how it started. We weren't even really
for everyone, I think.
Yeah, everybody had an ombre, so it was a solid root into solid blonde, or whatever it was, right? But that was so interesting because I remember when I did my first balayage or ombre, I YouTubed it. I didn't know how to do this. I've never learned how to do it. There was no classes out there for that, so I went on YouTube and I learned. Like the week before, like every night I'm on YouTube and learning how to do it. And it was probably all coming out of the UK. I don't know. And so my first balayage, I still remember it. I started with 30 or 40 vol and probably blonde me. And of course, those pieces broke off at the end. But
oh God,
yeah, because I didn't know what I was really doing, and now we know so much about lift and processing, and the lift is in the can and in the bleach and all this kind of stuff. So I just remember doing my first balayage. I was just so nervous, and I got through that, and then I guess until people started putting stuff out on social media for us to take classes, then I just was so thirsty for education to try and like up my game to do all these new techniques. But from what we know now of balayage and what I first started with, it's just crazy. It's just everybody was orange, I think, because I didn't know anything about, like, I thought open air, you could just slap something on there and no incubation or anything, and the saturation, and everybody was orange, I think.
Yeah, lovely. Orange, as the French might say.
Yeah.
I found that I've been doing balayage much longer, and I'm teaching it for a product house. But what I found in the marketplace was that no product companies were really talking to people like you and me that work behind the chair. They were talking, it was all sort of, it was all kind of avant-garde and, punchy colors and all of this stuff. And the Instagrammer influencers, the initial ones that started off, and you had braids and balayage and all that stuff going on. And that's where it really changed, because all of us that work behind the chair were looking for ways in which to work behind a chair and produce beautiful work, work that spoke to our clients. And that wasn't happening. And then suddenly you started seeing people that were posting stuff, and it was like, oh, that's really pretty. My client would like that. How do you do that? And they started teaching and showcasing, and we started watching. And I think that really was the big turning point in our industry.
Yeah, I agree. And then there's the turning point of turning like into educating ourselves. Yes. I never set out to be an educator. I don't think I'm the best educator, but there's so.
I think that's the best place to be, though. I think the best place to be is not to believe you're the best educator, because that's when it's a disaster. Sorry, you do the work that people want to know how to do. Yeah.
I try to keep it very casual. This is just me behind my chair. I'm not saying this is the only way to do it. Hey, this is just how I do it.
This is what works for me.
This is what has worked. It's successful. I feel like our industry just keeps transforming, right? Like we're getting all these new techniques and applications, keeping up with that, social media, keeping up with that, and then going into the educating aspect, keeping up with that. And it just keeps evolving. But I think that's how we keep our passion.
I think it is. But I think that there's something different in that. And I think that when you're talking, you give some really clear, honest posts about, if you do this is what's going to happen. You go through and you pick out bits in a dodgy section. I mean, I just don't think I would just go mad if that was in front of me. It's sort of 5 hours of picking those pieces out. But you've really defined that as your go-to speciality.
Right. I just, I think my strive for perfection, has probably created that. And being a people pleaser, I just so want to give them their hair, their dreams. And I know lots of people, do things in sessions, but I try to do it in that session. Like, let's do everything.
You do it all in one go.
Yeah, all in one go.
Yeah.
It might take us 6, 7 hours, 8 hours. I don't know. But, the payoff is they're happy. They get to walk out with this beautiful blonde, even. And of course, I'm doing, I charge by the hour. So the payoff is money too, right? So I don't feel like I'm doing all this work for nothing.
What you've done is you've been able to do what you like to do and charge for it properly, because hairdressers are notorious for not wanting to charge for it. By charging for the hour and the product, you've been able to say, okay, I can do the work that I want and enjoy it, and the attention to detail. I mean, some of those transformations are bloody amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just like, wow. But it's very time consuming, and it's a very different way of working. It's
so time consuming, but I don't know. I think that's where I get so much joy out of that. I always look at color corrective as a puzzle, and I always loved to do puzzles as a child. Like, that was one of my favorite things to do. And so I think now I'm doing adult grown-up puzzles on people's hair. You just got to take it one piece at a time.
Yeah, I'm a great believer in that, but I love the way that you've turned it into your niche.
Yeah.
You've turned it into this niche, and that you give so much of that away to people freely. That mentoring thing, that giving away of what you know and passing on. It's part of a legacy, I suppose.
Well, I have started this new venture of private education on a private page on Instagram. It's been a little bit of daunting, but I'm going to...
It is daunting, isn't it? It really is daunting.
But I'm going to forge ahead and see how that goes. And it's something that, so many people, like hairstylists, I think a large part of my following is hairstylists behind the chair. And they're always like, do you have any online education? Do you have any online education from all over the world? And then I'm like, okay, I need to create this. So once again, my daughter went to school for digital design and development and marketing. So she's the girl that runs all my stuff for me, and I get paid her for it. And she helps me so much with that. And so I feel like we're just getting started with that. But
yes, I discovered in lockdown that, obviously social media was really good for me. Digitally, it was good for my soul. It was good for my mind, and it was a way of doing something that kept me busy and a way of giving something back.
Right.
And a lot of us started opening digital platforms and private ones, and I don't think I realised how much work it was until I was in the middle of it, and I was like, oh my god, this is really another full-time job on top of everything else I'm doing. And this is the awful thing. I wish I had a kid that could do it for me, but of course I don't. Well done, Shawna.
Yeah.
This child finally came in.
I know, right?
Yeah. There's this thirst from hairdressers for knowledge. Then there are, for us, the ones that say they can't be bothered or whatever, there are, 10 or 15 that really want to know what you do. And there are so many options out there now that it's quite a heavily saturated market, isn't it? How do you think you're going to stand out in that in the long term?
I think that's what I felt was the daunting part, because I put this out there and you expect that, you're going to have hundreds of people right away signing up because so many people were asking me. And I feel like I didn't do it necessarily for the money. I just did it because I just didn't want to say no to people anymore. Like, no, I don't really have anything. And I feel like I was just being kind of driven towards this private education page. But how I'm going to stand out from that, I think I just got to stay true to myself. Like, I've paid for other people's pages because I wanted to see how they did it. But then I'm like, no, Shawna, don't do that. Don't copy what somebody else has done. I've done that in the past, because with social media and seeing how everybody else is doing everything, it's so easy to be caught up. And I have to be like Camouflage and Balayage, Amy. I just love her content. I love what she does.
I love Amy.
With your balayages, I love what you do too, Jack. And it's like, you look at that and you're like, I have to do this direction. I have to do it like them.
No.
And I learned that the last couple years, And I think what's talking to the life coach too is I'm good enough to be who I want to be. Like people are coming to look at my stuff because of me, not because I'm trying to copy what somebody else is doing. So I feel like with this private page, I just got to keep on doing what I'm doing, like being authentic. And I think that's where I come into play is just be authentic. Like you really want these people to learn. And I try to, it has to be so professional, the videos and all this kind of stuff. Right. And the editing and everything has to be so perfect. And I'm like, sometimes my arm is in the video and my daughter's like, Mom, your arm is in the video too much. You're going to have to like watch your body placement and all this kind of stuff. So I'm just like, I'm just going to like plow forward and just see how it goes. And I've given myself a time frame of 6 months just to see how this private education page is going to churn and just keep doing that.
I think it's brilliant. And I think it's true. Yeah. It would be too easy to look at somebody else's private education page and to then start copying it and to second guess yourself. Mm-hmm. When your success is built on you. My success is built on what I do. Your success is built on what you do. Everyone's is built on what they bring to the table. And I think that private education, digital education most definitely has a place in the 21st century, along with in-person, which I know you do in person as well, like me. And they sit very beautifully together. But I think that we have to be in it for the long haul, not the short haul.
That's what I think,
for the private education pages, And I'm really treating mine like a baby. And I'm nurturing it and, I'm sort of playing around with it and ideas. And, I sort of see it that Instagram is the window to my world of what I do and how I think. And then, in person is people can get, they can actually, I can be next to somebody. I can say, oh, maybe just try this, and the nuances that you wouldn't get online. And then online gives you more of a taste than Instagram, but not as much as me in person. But also I bring other people on, and so it's an experience, right? It becomes the world. It's a 360.
I think that's something I want to do is like have a guest, somebody come on as a guest on my page, and they can do a haircut. But I've run into a little snag. Maybe you can help me with this. Is when I do an Instagram live and I save it, upload it to Instagram TV, then the sound doesn't come with it. Now, I don't know if they're copyright from the music playing in the salon. And so there's no sound. So I don't know what to do about that, but I got to figure that one out.
Oh, no, that would drive me absolutely bonkers. You could always do a voiceover on it.
I do, but this one particular one, I did this haircut and it didn't save. So like it just went, I just uploaded it straight to Instagram TV and then there's no sound. So it's, anyways, that's been like the crazy technical side of it, which I don't love.
I hate it. When I was doing a live twice a week, it got to be, I kind of got to know it automatically, but then suddenly something would go wrong and it'd be like, oh my God, there's no one here to help me.
Yeah.
So I had screen record on at one point, we just keep trying, right? I mean, I think that's the interesting piece about this conversation. The truly interesting piece is the fact that two old hairdressers are very competitive in a 21st century and a supposedly youth-centered industry, and we're still trying to do it, right? We're still trying to be relevant. We still want to be relevant. We still want to participate in the conversations.
Yeah.
Look at me. I've got my grown-out bleached hair and you've got your lovely, big, strong chunks of blonde in there. We are not messing around. Now, I wanted to touch on briefly with you, and this is a bit that excites me as well. So much of the conversation excites me, actually. And when we're talking about older women, because, of course, the gram, my post tonight is very much about older women that I'm going to post tonight, and how much, in some ways, I ignore that in the conversation, and we as an industry ignore that. Yet you have built a clientele out of some older women, and very successfully. What was the thought process in that?
Because there's a certain age group that pay well.
Yes.
So,
yes.
like you're 20 something, they're not going to pay my pricing. They're going to go to the juniors. And so. But
you speak about it, Shawna. You speak about it and you post it as well, which a lot of people don't.
Like
that's
pricing?
The difference, right? you speak about pricing, you speak about older clients, you have older clients on there. You know, you are inclusive, age inclusive on your page.
Yeah, like I feel like my average clientele is probably, I'd say 40 to 60. Yeah. And because there's all these trendy, yummy mommies that want to look good, right? And they can relate to me maybe over a 20-year-old, because we're all going through menopause and doing whatever we're doing, or have grown children and things like that. So on a personal level, we relate really well in the chair. And then on a professional level, one of the things I'm really proud of is my gray coverage. And that is using Schwarzkopf Professional to get women gray coverage, but keeping it cool. Now,
yes,
everybody says that's not possible. And I'm like, no, it's possible, but we call it gray blending. So I've been so proud that and I want to bring this more to the forefront on my private education page on the gray coverage thing. Because one of my pet peeves is seeing a level 7, 8 orange base with highlights. And so many women that age group are walking around like that.
Right, and you walk down the street and you're like, that's coloured, and you don't even have to look at it, right? Because it's got that chemical orange brown.
Yeah.
And it's like, why does that look like that? It drives me mad.
It doesn't have to.
I don't know anyone that wants that colour.
Nobody wants that, but no. I honestly have to, Lisa loves balayage. Lisa Walker has
yes,
with what she goes on talking about chemistry and color and the background, has helped me immensely, watching her stories and things like that, for the science behind color, what it can do, what it can't do. And ever since she came out with all color lifts warm, it doesn't matter if you start cool, you start warm, all color lifts warm. So I preach this to all my clients now. I make all color lifts warm. If you want cool and 100% gray coverage, it's never going to happen. Never. So I think that brings me to, we have to be so realistic to our clients now, especially because they're bringing pictures in, from social media, Pinterest, all of this. We have to be so clear whether they can get this or they can't. And if you want a cool base, it's going to be gray blending. Some of your grays might show. So what's more important? You want a cool color or you want coverage?
It's going to be grey blending, or it's going to be like the real old days, just before I started training, when they used to pre-lighten everyone and then put a tint on top. And that's the only way you can get a cool brown, is by pre-lightening and put that on, or do it the way that you're talking about. Yeah. Lisa loves balayage. Lisa really is prolific in her conversation about science. Mm-hmm. And what's really nice to hear is that an experienced, talented hairdresser like yourself is still learning and is still open to the conversations about chemicals and the chemical terminology and what happens, and wants to pass that knowledge on because it's helped change the way you work.
Oh, I never want to be too snobby to think that, I've come up with this, or, I thought of this myself. Some of the things I have, but so much of what I know is because of social media and seeing other hairstylists and how you guys all work and what you're doing behind your chair. And just learning so much now. It's just opened up our knowledge so huge. And I'm a believer in not just imparting this knowledge to the other hairstylists, but I impart the knowledge to my clients because I want them to know what I'm doing in my chair. And some clients will be like, oh, that's okay, I trust you. And I'm like, I'm not telling you this because you don't trust me. I'm telling you this because I want you to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that I don't think I've not invented anything, right? I might have refined something to make it work for me. But everything that I have has been given to me by somebody else in the industry, and that I've just gone with it. And there's nothing new. I've not, and I think that keeps you humble, and I think that keeps you honest, and then people can relate to those conversations.
I'm sure you've created your own placements, right?
Yeah. I don't know.
I think so. So many people probably say that about you, Jack. They probably like that they learn so much from you.
Well, that's the nature of our game, right? That's the nature of our industry, to mentor and to pass on the knowledge and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Shawna, you mentioned, just very briefly, your mentoring program, is that in salon, or is that a national program that you're part of, that you're mentoring? Or
it's actually my partner that I work with. He is not a hairstylist. Yeah. He's just an entrepreneur and has other salons. And it was more his idea than anything, because when him and I got together and partnered up in the salon that we have right now, he wanted to give me an assistant for free. That was kind of my payment for managing. And I'm like, okay, because I never worked with an assistant before that. I have previously, but not at that point. And then he gave me that, and he's like, okay, so they're going to work with you like 4 days a week, and then they're going to come in 1 day for free and do a model. And I was like, huh? You want me to hire these people and tell them that? I'm like, nobody's going to want to come in for free and do that. Even though I would do it myself, I thought people wouldn't want to be hired on being told that they had to work one day a week for free. But anyway, we persevered with this. It was our own kind of program that we like put together. And it's been great. So it's not national. It's just in salon. I get emails, I would say weekly, from girls that are finishing school, because the name's out there now, that Philomena Salon. Yeah. And, they write me like very nice letters that they want to train under me specifically. So I never have to go search usually for these stylists. It's been so rewarding. And like, we're creating this army of hairstylists and like junior hairstylists. And what I love about it is you're creating this army of people that are going to do hair with the quality you want them to do.
Yes. But they're also going to be able to put their own spin on it.
Oh, right? For sure.
Because they're going to have a solid foundation, and that they have that grounding that you've given them, and that they can then go on and do what they want to do, which is basically what we've done, right? Mm-hmm. We've taken things, we've been given things, and we've put our own spin on them. And to send somebody young out into the industry with that kind of skill set is pretty amazing.
It's pretty amazing. So, I feel like they're very lucky. They're very lucky to get mentors, because that was one of the things in the industry that might be a little bit of a negative is I had this girl that has come to me, and she's been in the industry for 2 years already, and nobody's really she's been mentored, but I don't know, not properly. And she needs help just to get her there. And I feel like maybe people are too secretive behind their chairs. They don't want to give out formulas. They don't want to have somebody come up to them asking, how do you do this? And I believe as an older stylist that we should mentor these kids. We should share our knowledge.
Absolutely.
I totally
absolutely
and I feel like there's a little like people like to keep their secrets, but
there are no secrets. No. There are really no secrets, because you can find it all out there. What the difference is, I think, Shawna, is that your personal eye, your taste level, you can't teach that. That's personal. That comes from, that's internally. Mm-hmm. But what you teach is you teach the fundamentals, the sciences, the hows, the whys, the whats, and then that person then puts their taste level on it and goes off. So nobody will work this. You and I, same qualifications, same clientele, same years of experience. You will do something slightly different to me because that's how you see it, and I will do it slightly different to you because that's how I see it. And I absolutely loathe and hate and detest to hear that people are saying, don't tell people how to do this, don't show this. It just drives me mad. It's so old-fashioned and it's so uncaring.
It is.
That why is that person working with you when, and shampooing and getting coffees and running around and assisting you? Why are they doing that if you're not going to impart your bloody knowledge? It's shocking that still goes on.
I agree.
Right, we start the revolution, Shawna.
Yeah, let's start a revolution.
We start the revolution.
The old ones mentoring the young ones.
Well, and the young ones mentoring us too. That's the joy of it, as I said.
I learned so much from them too.
Absolutely. I mean, my assistant, John, who's now on the floor, he did all my filming for me at one point. I'm totally lost without him at the moment because I've not got a new assistant. And just the thought process was just so much fun to be around. I like being around young people.
I do too.
For a minute. But I need to be about at 8:30.
Yeah. No, I love our young ones. Yeah, we've got quite a few juniors in our salon, but our juniors are, because of the program we're doing, once they're on because I don't give them 4 or 5 days right off the bat on the floor. We slowly get them onto the floor, and by the time they're on the floor, they're booked a month out. They're already booked a month out. It's crazy. I just wow. And a lot of that is social media.
Amazing how it's changed, right? I love the idea of this reset, and I'm really can't wait to see what your next reset is as I enter mine, really, because this is a reset for me moving here. So I'm looking forward to seeing that part of the journey, and I wanted to thank you so much for taking the time out of today and joining us on this, and for sharing your thoughts and your wisdom. So thank you so much, Shawna Russell. And I'll see you on Instagram. Okay,
thank you so much, Jack. I loved having this chat with you. And we will see you on Instagram. Mwah. Love you.
Bye. Bye-bye. So I hope you enjoyed this podcast as much as I did making it for you. Don't forget to subscribe on your channel that you download your podcasts from. iTunes is my favorite, but I know there are others out there. And also, if you want to follow me on stories on Instagram, it's jackhowardcolor, COLOR, the American way, not the English way. And on Facebook, it's jackhowardcolor, COLOR. And my website is www.jackhowardcolor, COLOR.com.